I was offended or I was being emotional to this certain factor. And then I try to break down why was I whatever. And then I try to go back and understand what the person was saying. For some people, it's hard to explain because I'm talking about people like everybody and everyone's so different. But um,
Yeah,
I'm trying to keep on point. A lot of people, they like get it's it's a weird cycle and it's difficult to break the cycle. But if there's any chance of breaking a cycle, it usually there's hope. Um, if someone recognizes it or starts to see parts of it, it's almost like someone's in the dark, and if they never have any little bit of a light being shined on, there's probably a low chance that they're going to be able to see everything, if that makes sense. So I
it
usually
makes
don't give
sense.
up. I don't really give up hope for everybody. If it's someone, I usually try to give them a chance. And I guess maybe at my chances, I give a little bit more than what's like one first chance. I try to see, I don't know how to explain this.
Yeah, I think I get where you're coming from. Except, like, you use the term hope. Like, there's no hope if you don't give them the time to see your opposing opinion. Um, but it's really interesting that you use that term because, like, it seems for the very most part, even when people do, well, I mean, even when people don't have an amygdala hijack, even when they do listen to like a fragment of your argument, say like 0.30%, they will they will only understand such a small shred of it that it doesn't matter. It's just like this whole argument was fucking pointless.
Well, I usually don't get into arguments,
I mean, debate or just like
discussion.
in a protest. In a protest, it's clearly conflicting ideology. You can boil it down
Oh,
to
well,
that.
yeah,
I don't
that,
want to use absolutist terms of argument or debate, but like when people are talking politically about which candidate should be elected, it's clearly conflicting ideology.
I
And
usually don't talk politics with people for that reason. Nope.
well, I do because it matters. Like who gets elected matters.
Yeah, it
Like
does, but
it affects the society on a whole. So I think that's more reason to voice my opinion than anything. Um, because that's clearly going to matter way more than a single argument.
yeah, no, I get that. It's just, I guess for me personally, I feel I'm not really good at winning that front because it would be a lot of work for a payoff that may not even ever come. So
Yeah,
I find it more useful if I just try to understand people in general. If I have a better
yeah,
understanding of them, maybe then it'll have a bigger effect, if that makes sense.
I can relate to that approach, and that's the approach that I do take when I'm in protests in Australia. I I pretty much avoid all of the really vulgar trivializations or really aggressive arguments, and I just walk around the political front, and I find the people who seem to be open-minded enough to like listen to an opposing opinion, and I talk to those people, like because I have predictive modeling in my brain, so I can predict talking to a certain person will have absolutely no positive outcome at all. So it's not that I'm being demeaning. It's like when certain people try to talk to me, it's just like fuck off. So like, I'll go find somebody who's going to listen to my opinion because I can already tell based on your ideology whether you will understand or not. So it's like, uh, yeah, I try to find people who have the capacity to just simply listen to somebody.
Yeah, no, I see.
And I do that, and I make a difference. I'm not saying I make a big difference or anything. It's probably very minuscule and probably means nothing. But I don't see any other logical way to approach it than that.
Hmm. And then back to the other point, I somehow remembered with the people groupthink. I find it kind of interesting because I've sort of, even when I was back in high school, I kind of wish I was a little more aware of things and was a little more like how I am now. I wish I was like this back in high school because then I could have a better chance of really testing, not testing, like studying people in my class. Um, but I sort of always like studied, especially in the classroom. I feel like I was able, it was like a really good way for me to observe different people and how they interact with each other and their behaviors. And I could kind of be like a quiet observer in the classroom and like notice all these different types of people, if that makes sense, or relations and systems.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now that I'm in college, especially now, especially with my class, it's kind of interesting. Um, I'm trying to understand this valuing because I noticed there actually was like a conflict I had in my class. It was someone they're similar to my type. They're probably like an FI dom, and their value of way of trying to think how to explain it. Do you know what introverted feeling is and extroverted feeling?
yeah. It's like the
Okay,
dichotomy between valuing inner harmony versus consensual values.
yeah. So it was basically almost like a clash between an FI dom and then an FE dom, or maybe they have FE up there and they were valuing. Um,
Do you know the particular types, whether it was like an
I
ISFP, an INFJ, or
I think
I mean ENFJ?
I think this girl I think she's an INFP. Um,
Right.
and the other one was like an ESFJ or
Oh, okay.
ESTJ. She's like the other one was very strong. She's very extroverted and very opinionated. Not opinion, that's a bad word.
ESTJs seem that way.
Very headstrong, strong-willed.
Yeah, ESTJs definitely seem that way. I always clash with ESTJs.
Yeah, they're supposed to be my
Um,
duel, but I don't know. Um, I think she's a six, to be honest, too, like a counterphobic, or I don't know what the right term is. I haven't fully studied it, but the vibe of her is like she's very anxious and she's very concerned about how other people perceive her. And when she uses her extroverted feeling, it'll be almost like a switch kind of way, and everyone, not everyone, the other one is complaining in a way where it's like she seems like she's faking or she's lying, and she's like, you know, following the rules, asking about the details, being nicey to people higher up. That's a hierarchy and like social status positioning. And the FI Dom one is like she had, I don't remember what the problem. It wasn't important, but it was really interesting noticing this like clash. I didn't really help resolve the situation. The only best thing I could do was try to tell the FI Dom that for me personally, I used to take everything personally. That was one of the things she took. Oh, hold on, my phone's ringing.
sure. I'll be back in a bit.
Okay, I'm back. I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about some either ESFJ or ESTJ clashing with an FI dom in high school.
No, this is college, which
Oh,
was
college, right?
interesting. One of them's really young, one of them's really old, which I was surprised. But yeah, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, I was just trying to explain and let the FI Dom know. When I was younger, I struggled a lot with taking every single little thing personally. It was like really annoying. Like I would just get constantly offended, and it was something I had to learn to do and just not take things personally. At the same time, I try to tell her there's different people that have they value different things. I know for you, probably, I don't either. I don't really care necessarily too much about how people perceive me or reputation or how other people. Sometimes I don't really. I usually am empathetic, but if I'm not aware, sometimes I won't be aware of how other people are feeling. If that makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
I'm kind of a
No,
little
that
more
makes
selfish.
perfect sense.
Sometimes, like, I'll realize after, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize this.
Yeah.
And I'll, act after I recognize it. But
Yeah, that
people
makes perfect sense.
people who seem to value other people and groups and stuff, it's not really always a negative thing. If it's unhealthy, it could be, but it can be a good thing too. Like a lot of times when I try to break it down, usually I see that they're trying to mean well, and they're trying to act accordingly best as they believe they can. Like if you notice, like some of them, they might seem like they're trying to gain position or kind of be almost tactical in manipulating people. They can be like that, but I noticed too at the same time they can be also like they are pretty considerate of other people, and um, they do value how the group feels, and they're pretty good at like being aware of others' needs. So it's not like they're always selfish. They can be, but it's just like a different way of valuing it. I remember it being a lot better when I explained it to her.
I get where you're coming from. That they're trying to think
It's not,
of
and
how the group overall will perceive their
I'm not
actions,
saying every
but
yeah.
but they, to their core, they are pushing their own ideology above everybody else's, and they're not taking the time to listen to converging ideologies or opposing ideologies. Their prime objective is to push their ideology and manipulate the value system of other people so that they conform to their own ideology. That is their prime objective. And if you probably can't think as an INFP how somebody